Hi everyone, good evening. We are with new episode of Test Experience Talks, and today we have a master guest, and
Oh
also it
no.
is our first international talks in English, and our guest from Kiev, and Oleksii, my master, the
Oh
best
my.
tester in Kiev. Oleksii, welcome to our episode. Welcome to our program.
Thank you, Maxim. It's really nice that you invite me. I'm really glad. It's my first interview in this such a setup. Thank you for inviting.
Okay, Oleksii, please can you introduce yourself as a summary, please?
I am already in software testing for more than 12 years, or maybe 13, I don't know, 12. I started my test career as a student. I was not studying as a software in university. I was not a software. I would was was not my profile. But then I started to work as a software tester. At first, I uh, wanted to become a developer, and then but didn't was not sure am I good at a developer enough. And then found myself testing for years, and now I am calm with being tester. So
Okay,
I was testing. If you ask for projects, in various projects,
okay, but
they were.
why testing? Why did you change to testing? How did you meet with QA or testing world? What happened?
Well, I just wanted. I don't know. I was comfortable testing. I was comfortable asking questions that nobody want to ask or hear. I was comfortable doing some kind of dirty job that developers don't like, and I was really well. It was okay for me to do this.
Yeah, also you are devil's advocate profile person, yeah?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, regarding to your experience, what is a good tester? I mean, what behaviors does a good tester should have, or what makes a tester good? From soft skills, from the soft skill and the hard skills, the technical skills.
Oh well, the short answer for technical skills is just well anything that is needed. So any particular task can be may involve some technical and particular technical skills. So there is no quick answer. So testers should learn Docker. If you don't need Docker, then you don't maybe not know, but you need to be uh, uh, you need to be good enough in learning so you can quickly figure out what tool you should be using or what tool should be is more preferred here and what you are testing. And for the soft skills, I would say that tester should be suspicious. So testers should always suspect that something is wrong. That's why testers are at their job. So if so, we nobody need, well, from my perspective, or when I was starting the job as a tester 12 years ago, there were some rumors that testers we need testers to confirm our product is working, but no, we don't confirm. So we that now at least what I see as a good tester, the good tester doesn't confirm that is something is working. Tester confirms that something is broken, and that's why. And when tester confirms that something is broken, tester feels good.
Yeah, we should
So
block this illusion, yeah?
yeah, so well, developers, yeah, by their by their job, they and everybody. So developers think they have written the code correctly. customers or some business people who don't understand development and programming and that's all. They just believe that somebody else knows what they did. That somebody else is developers. They know what they do, and our job is kind of provide the requirements and receive some magic product that does what we wanted. And testers don't have any, well, shouldn't have any illusions that developers know what they do or customers correctly formulated their words. So that's like
Okay,
this.
at that point,
Suspicious.
that famous legendary move. Okay, you raised a bug, a defect, and it's a perfect bug. I mean, reporting all that reproduces steps, but developers answered. I mean, return back to you as okay. It is working on my local.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
How do you trade with that? How you manage that situation?
Oh, well, depends on developer and the setup. So they just don't. They just need some solid evidence that is broken and that shouldn't be broken on some environment that is good enough to provide this evidence. So if they say, okay, you have a wrong environment, just fix the environment and everything would be ready. I would just call them and chat them and try to ping them as long as they help me to fix my environment, for example, because if I don't know what to do, or environment can be a server environment or local environment, my
Mm-hmm.
local environment.
But
So yeah, they
but
should fix my environment so they trust it. And if they trust my environment, then the evidence on that environment is trustworthy for them to kind of do something.
that is the problem. Even they don't trust anything.
Well, then we have a problem of management then.
Yeah, good
If
answer.
teammates don't trust what others do, then it's a problem of maybe it's a man problem. Like the Jerry Weinberg said that any problem is a people problem. So
Yeah, okay. I like that. Maybe remember sometimes we have discussion arguing with you about the word QA. Okay, from your side and from your experiences, what is different between QA and test? And actually, okay, QA we know as quality assurance. What does it mean for you, quality assurance, or how it trades in SDLC in software development? So, what is your thought about this?
well, I there are two different kind of aspects of this question. The first aspect is the terminology that is kind of that terminology in some vocabulary, the difference between meanings or something like that. And another is how these two words are applied in practice. As I see from my experience watching some, for example, some job offers, some vacancies in the market. My friends working have their job titles. There is no any difference. So nobody gives anything for the difference between QA and tests. That's why I don't see any sense arguing have an argument, are you QA or are you a tester or whatever. Nobody cares. And from perspective of wording and from the vocabulary, I think quality assurance has this order of conformance of confirmation testing, because quality assurance, like if we have somebody with this title in our office, then we are assured we have a quality. That's wrong completely. That's why I don't like. I don't care about namings in the office. I don't. Well, depends on what you do. Word tester I like because it's very straightforward. Like you know what to do. You are testing or you are not testing. That's it. If you are QA, well, okay. Are you testing when you are QA? Well, yeah. And testing means not only as for me. If you are a tester, you don't. Well, I had a lot of titles. I was a QA and a tester. When I'm a tester, I test not only the product, not only the build I was provided with by some magic people that are building builds. I can fix some infrastructure if I'm a tester, because if that infrastructure stops me from doing my testing, or I can go and have some discussion about requirements with business people, because I think the requirements are formulated badly and I cannot test properly, or I test requirements this way, or I can help developers to find the language with business people because they are talking about different things by different words, but actually they want to they cannot find the common language, and I see all of that is can be a job of a tester or a QA, whatever.
Okay.
And yeah, and recently I heard like QA was named not about quality assurance but quality assessment. This is really a good one, because quality assessment is what I do. Yeah, I assess quality of my workplace.
Okay. By the way, how long experience, how much experience do you have in automation testing?
Well, depending on how to count. I started to write scripts.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, maybe on the second year when I was
Oh,
working
okay.
with well, maybe at once. I don't know. I never was afraid about writing some code.
Okay.
But the quality of my code was itself was always that bad that I was always afraid for it to be on production.
All the
Yeah,
same.
but huh? Yeah, and about when I had a title automation, maybe 5 years, but I added the word automation to my title, not because I became confident about my automation, but because I just saw that if I have automation in my resume title, I just get more money.
Okay. Do you think is automation a magic? I mean, when you start apply automation in your process, everything will be perfect. Do you think in that way?
Mm, no, I don't like automation because on the most of the project I have for last, I don't know, maybe 7 or no, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years I work as a almost single tester on a project. That's why if I introduce automation, I should be confident that I would not need to maintain it. Because speaking about automation, a lot of people like, okay, we are doing automation and we will do less of testing of these checks later. But here we will do less checks, but you will need to maintain that code because the production, the system and the test is changing and the tests are changing. That's why every written that's why about the every written line of code needs maintenance. So if I write some automation, I don't want to touch it anymore. Like if yeah, that's why I always think, do I need this test? How hard will it be to maintain this test? How likely will it? So the infrastructure, the biggest pain for me is changing infrastructure. So if I need to maintain the environment for the automation, the build server is changing, is updating, having some updates. The operating system of the server is updating. Everything is changing all the time. That's why you cannot avoid maintenance time. That's why if I write some automated script, I prefer, if I don't see it is a stable and, well, if I'm not sure if this test will not be changed like that, I would not run it anymore. Like, it's one-time use scripts. That's what I write.
In that case, suppose that we decide for automation. How should we do that? I mean, where we should start to apply our automation process? I mean, how automation process start? I mean, after we decided to say, okay, yes, we will start.
Well, the first is thing to set up the build server, or the continuous integration, whatever, how it you call it. Some servers that will be executing your test scripts. This is the main part. And then adding the most simple and as the less changing tests. Like, also the point about the automation, like the test, every test has a risk underneath. So if you test something, you just want to know if something is broken behind the test. That's why you need to test with automation. Your kind of testing could be done many times a day. So it really, and if this testing is done so quickly and so many times a day, then it's really cheap. So it's really cheap to execute one check with the automation. And that's why you can check really obvious points with the with your automated test. But these obvious points should be maybe very critical. Like, is my site or my system is up? Like, generally, it's very easy to check. Like, you open the browser, or not browser, whatever. It has got up. Okay, then it's up. But if you do it manually, it's longer than do it automatically and having it every build executed every build. So really obvious checks can really save time and save resources from when something obvious is broken, like the system didn't rise properly after some rebuilding or after installation, something like that. And incrementing that obvious checks with some other not changing parts of the system. In this way, automation could be like conformance testing. It is really conformance testing. Like, when you run automated tests, you don't expect that they will fail.
Okay, in that point, okay, what should be your automation coverage? Okay, suppose that you have 100 manual test cases in your project, and what is your approach? What will be your approach to determine which test cases will be automated?
No, I don't correlate manual test cases and automated test cases. I don't like the approach when we automate manual test cases. That's the wrong way. Automation should do what computer does the best. This is what actually Alan Page, in his book, The A Word, really nice book, he also uncovered this topic. Like, computers do what computers do good, and people do what people do good. And you don't force computers to be people, and don't force people to be computers. These are completely wrong setup. That's why if you have some, maybe some. Yeah, I was actually working on some projects that had really descriptive and excessive manual test cases. And when people took this, 300 pages document and go and pass some check marks inside, it was really a wrong way. Like, nobody actually was executing that particular test. So if you get some test that you are doing every, week on the same product, you just need to confirm this feature working. You enter, and there are data in those steps, like put name like John, put surname like Johnson, or something like that. But when real people are executing that, they don't read again those John Johnson. They just put some their family names, some friends, and so on. People don't like do the same exactly setup every time. That's why you don't need to specify that information in your manual test cases like that. So my manual test cases are just titles, and that's it. And if they are kind of a big mind map of what I need to test. They don't have a lot of description inside them, but they do if I have some particular complex setup and I need to test only on that setup, and I can forget about that setup. Then I specify, of course, that. But in general, my tests are just titles, and my automated tests are just a separate folder with some scripts, and those scripts are checking stability. They are checking some stuff that I cannot test manually, or it will take a long time to test it manually. But they don't repeat each other. That's why I will stop now.
Okay, I have two similar question. Okay, one of my question. Okay, what general mistakes do you see in automation process, in automation strategy? And one of question from our guest from audience say, Oleksii, what is your the worst experience, your personal worst experience in test automation? So, which mistakes did you see from the project, and what is the worst experience if you have in automation?
At first, I am not a kind of universal expert in every automation. I work with mostly with Python, and of course, I do some shell scripting and some Windows command line scripting if I need. But my main language is Python, and maybe because of this or vice versa, I don't work, and I never. Well, I had one project once with the big infrastructure for automated tests with Python and with the. So there were a lot of the big project with about 40 testers with different teams. They test a lot of things. I also worked with I also worked with some manual projects, only manual testing. I also worked with some other. This was long ago. I was not really automated there. But I had also consulted several projects with PHP, with Java, just helping guys to start. And the main problems with automation. Well, yeah, the main problem is that people try to force computer do people work, or vice they for and many problem is manual is when people force people to do computers work. That's bad. Yeah, and in general, the main problem with testing at all, as I see it, is the poor architecture of the system.
You mean
So when the
system? Sorry, you mean the system of under the test or the system
under
of
test,
our
no,
tests?
system under test. When yeah, you really can develop a system that is untestable and is behaving very strangely. I see a lot of such cases, and one of my recent projects was exactly the same. So the clever people come and develop something that is untestable, like it's a huge brick, and you need black box, and it's really hard to figure out how to slice it and I mean dissect, or how it is called. Yeah, and try to insert your testing inside. Like something is broken sometimes. It happens really not that often, but when it is, it's really hard to figure out what has been broken in this complex pipeline that you don't have any test points inside.
Okay, at that point, again regarding to your experience, suppose that we have a tester and he or she wants to move career in automation. Okay, had some experience in manual and now want to change to automation. What would you suggest for them to to move in automation side, in automation career?
Well, at first, one not they shouldn't be afraid of writing code. That's main obstacle that I see from people who has a long career with the manual testing. They're good at it, but they just reached some point where well, they want to develop themselves to something, but they cannot because they are they don't have development skills. They are just what I saw. They are just a bit of afraid of writing code. They don't trust the code, and they maybe partially it's because they were working at testers for a long time. They just don't trust what they see. But yeah, it's you need to one need to overcome it.
Okay, in that point again, another popular question and popular discussion is about which language should I mean, which programming language should I choose or
Python, of course, Python. But yeah, really now there are a lot of stuff in JavaScript. It is really Python is rising in popularity, but not in automation testing, as I say. But JavaScript is really nice now, and there are a lot of tools for JavaScript these days. So yeah, I would if I would if I would need to start a new project with automation, maybe I would. If well, 5 years ago I would not hesitate, and already at once I would be on Python. But now I would say that JavaScript is also an option for consideration. Yeah, there are of course a lot of things on Java and the market on Java. Yeah, if you that depends on how far in the future you are looking at. So Java is really a mastodon of the development and everything. So there are a lot of tools and everything is ready in Java. But on Java, you need to be a good coder before you start coding. You need to think the code. So Java is really harder to, how it is called, entry level is higher. But on JavaScript and on Python, the entry level is almost the same. Python is a little bit lower, and it is more friendly, I would say. It's more logical. But on JavaScript, it also is okay.
Okay, now our another nightmare is agile. Why does everyone unhappy with agile? What is the problem with agile, or why agile is uncomfortable for most of people in IT?
Mm, well, in my office where I'm sitting alone, everybody is happy with Agile. Yes, but I don't understand this. Why somebody is unhappy with something? Well, agile is, as it is saying, it's really agile.
Okay,
you yeah, you cannot be forced to do something. There is agile manifesto, and I still for I don't know how many years it is already,
okay,
15, 20, and it is still correct and it is relevant. uh, I don't know if you do agile like it is written in agile manifesto. Well, that's no problem. It's you are doing good.
okay.
But if you are, yeah,
First
if you
time
are
we found.
forced,
Okay, sorry.
if you are forced to use this monstrous Jira product, then yeah, you can be unhappy with Agile. If you call Agile Jira, then yes, I am unhappy with Jira.
Okay, first time I saw someone really happy with agile and say yes, I am happy. Okay, because we have a bad experience and the negative experiences, and we know what is that negative experiences. But this time I will ask your positive experiences. Okay, what you do? Okay, if you are happy, probably you do something right, you do something good. So how you apply your agile process for the team and for the testing side? Okay, everyone is very excited now.
Well, um, what you mean Agile process? Yeah, I don't. Okay, maybe you are asking. Maybe I was not working in a big team since 4 years. That's why I missed something. But 4 years ago, when I was last working, everybody was unhappy with Scrum. But well, I also didn't understand why everybody, like the managers are say, oh, not managers, they were calling certified Scrum Masters. I am also actually a certified Scrum Master. And I worked actually as a Scrum Master for some 3 years, but it was long ago. But well, if you do everything not like it, if what you are doing is not about the tradition or about some culture or some I don't know religion, if every step you do in your work is about doing the how to say it, making the future a little bit better, then no problem at all. So do call it whatever you want, agile, scrum, whatever. If you have some tools to do the future a little bit better, like scrum, for example, it's a tool, like a set of rules, but you may not consider them. If you think, for example, I worked in a team for 2 years, and everybody, there were 5 of us. We were working completely. We understood each other. We didn't need, for example, retrospective meeting anyway, because we solved our problems on sitting on the workplace. We didn't do any retrospectives or something like that because we didn't need them. We didn't do. We did only one meeting in a day. We did some plannings because we didn't do plannings or not plan how it is called.
Grooming, Scrum
Yeah,
grooming.
grooming. Sorry, yeah, grooming. We didn't do grooming because we need to do grooming. We need to groom our backlog and so on. Because yeah, if you say to somebody who is not aware of what you do, we are grooming backlog. What's this? What you're talking about? But we were not just grooming backlog. We were sitting in a room, speaking to our product owner, and we were describing our product owner how we could do some stuff he wants or she wants. And when she and when she figures out how this thing can be done or how that thing can be done, the priorities of those tasks can change, because if some task takes more than she expected, then it may be postponed, and sometimes cannot be postponed. Then we need to reconsider how to do them in another way that is more quickly. So we were speaking to each other. We were developing actually the architecturing the product. We were not doing grooming. That's it. So
Okay.
and on our Scrum daily Scrum meeting, we were not just I was doing task number 55. Tomorrow I will do task number 56. It's bullshit. Oh, sorry, I said it. Well, you don't need to do this in this way. You need to speak about really what you did, because people are actually want to know what you did, especially in this quarantine times. Nobody is you cannot do and drink near some coffee near a coffee machine and speak about what obstacles did you have yesterday. You need to do it on the in some way that is that's procedural way, and that's why Scrum now is really good in these procedures, because when you are working in the office with people, you are really relaxed about interchanging information, because even if you don't hear something specific, don't listen to, but you can hear some noises here and there, and you understand what is going on. And now when everybody is sitting at home, you just lost. You don't know what to do, what people discuss nearby, because nobody is nearby. That's why these procedural ways like Scrum are really good in remote work. But not that good maybe if you are sitting in the office, because in the office everything is obvious.
Okay, at that point for agile testing, okay, what the general experience of the tester in agile, end of sprint, suppose it is Friday and then end of sprint, not Friday, okay, last 2 days generally. The development team generally send a completed task last 2 days or last one day of the sprint, and try to push the test team, to show in on demo. So it becomes like a chaos, okay, and that's
Yeah.
why generally we have a negative experience, especially from the testing side. uh, how do you manage that process? I mean, what is agile testing and how you do agile testing?
Well, okay, now I understand what you were asking about Agile. Yeah, it's about this sprint things.
Yeah.
Like you have sprints, and your team is taking a lot of tickets in the sprint, and they are kind of committed to do them, and then they are not doing them in the time they said they will, and that's why they like release everything in the sprint. Well, what can I say? That's a bad phenomenon. Well, you cannot do anything about it. You just need, maybe you can take less tickets. Oh, well, that's the only solution. Or I don't know. Yeah, actually, we don't do, at my current workplace, we don't do sprints for for 2 years maybe, and we are okay. We didn't close the business. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, as I remember, yeah, we had the same problems. Like we committed to do a lot of tickets in the same day. Yeah, that's actually the problem, because when you do sprints, you are committed not to about the one ticket. So this is a big ticket, this is small ticket. This small ticket I will do very quickly. This long ticket I will do the whole sprint. But instead, everybody is committed to do all the tickets at one day, and they do them and they commit them at one day. Yeah, it's the best bad development practice. Well, I don't know how to how to solve this problem. If everybody will be maybe people should not be punished because they don't commit the ticket inside some sprint. I mean, developers. If developers are not punished by not releasing some tickets in that particular sprint, maybe they would not be that nervous and commit everything in one day. Like poorly developed tickets, giving them, like this is also some anecdotic situation when you have the good developed tickets and good architecture ticket, or I mean some feature, and you have enough time. Almost always, you have enough time to test it. But when you have a poorly developed piece of some substance, you just don't have time to test it normally, and that's really kind of how you call it, oxymoron. Like you have the good developed tickets and you have good testing time for it, and you have poorly developed ticket and you don't have time to test it. That's always the problem.
Okay. And what type of reports or metrics do you use in your activities? Okay, now you are a tester in project and you do some test activities. Okay, you prepare some test cases, execute them, maybe some automation case. But what do you show? How do you show? So which metrics do you use?
Well, as soon as I'm only one tester for now. Well, until recently. I mean, if I'm one tester, I just don't need, because I don't have a lot of work capacity to cover a big, to cover some big piece of work that I would need complex reporting for. If I have, what I like, how I like the report looks like, it is grouped by checks. So checks are grouped by some functional areas. So you can see if this area has all green marks, then it's okay. If this area has some red mark, okay, it's suspicious. And
Okay,
that's
suppose
it.
that if I ask, okay, Oleksii, what did you do last week? I mean, from the testing side, okay? Or what did you do last year? What do you show? I mean, what is the output of your activities?
Oh, I think the Jira would show everything what I did.
What shows? What do
Jira,
you have? What do you have?
uh, well, in Jira you can filter by users, you can filter by project, you can filter by functional area, component, and so on. So if I would need to show anybody what I did last, I don't know, several months, I would go to Jira and see which tickets from which projects I commented, closed, moved, and so on, like changed. That would be my work.
Okay,
So
suppose that.
everything is in Jira. I don't. Well, maybe some pieces are in Slack. Maybe some very not long living pieces. But I prefer to leave all my work in Jira.
Okay. Suppose that now you start a new project, okay, new project, new company, and you are responsible from the testing activities, I mean, from the testing. And how do you start with a project, I mean, for testing? What first will you do, and then what will you do? So, how you start working on a project for testing? Which stages?
Oh, well, at first I need to know where to test. even not what, but where. So
Okay.
the main problem is the environment, reliable environment that everybody would be happy when I test on that environment. So it would not be something that is broken and okay, go in that corner and test this broken thing. Well, no, because the results of the testing would be irrelevant. But something that is good, and so I need first the environment, the system and the test. Then I would investigate it together with the documentation or what the level of documentation. I don't know. It depends on the product. Some is well documented, some is not that well documented. Some parts could be well documented. Then I need some to know where to look for development. I mean, business feedback or some business values of the things. So, what is important? What parts of the system are important and what are not? What should I test at first? What should I may not test anyway, or whatever. And yeah, if I have this all, I can test.
Okay, let's little bit talk about career. Okay, suppose that someone come to your meetup and meet with you and say, okay, hello, Mr. Oleksii, I'm just a fresh graduated and I want to working in the testing area, in QA area. What do you suggest for a fresh person wants to start in QA in testing?
Yeah, it's the real story. I often people come, yeah, and ask how should what should I do? Yeah, the first thing is to go where testers exchange the information. So this could be some offline meetups like our Kiev testers, or this could be some online resources like videos. There are a lot of videos from India guys, or not. Just if you type something, you very high probability that you receive some what to test or something like that. Then you need to know some basics about the computers. I mean, how they work, like the networking basics, the operation system basics, uh, database basics, maybe, well, yeah, data types, uh, something about, well, the
Like
basics of
algorithm,
computer
to know
science. Yeah,
algorithm, you mean? Okay.
yeah, basics of computer science. When I actually received this information when I was already working as a tester. But in that year, the MIT released their first free lections about computer science course. They were with Python, from where I learned that there is a beautiful language, and they were really good about just the basics of computer science. And they are not only MIT, but well, a lot of some studying information about the And they could not be, may not be that deep, but the basics are enough for testers to start. Yeah, and when you are okay with the basics and you go and hear what other testers are speaking about, listen. There are a lot of conferences now. There almost all of those conferences have the free, at least in Ukraine, they have free videos recorded on the site. You can just listen to what is modern, what are tendencies in the real development of the testing. I mean, development of testing. Okay.
Okay,
uh,
the same question for middle senior tester. Okay, suppose that someone comes to you and say, okay, I work in QA 3 years, something like that. Okay, four
mhm.
years, but I want to improve my career. Okay, which direction or what approach do you suggest to improve their career in QA?
Well, if you have already working as a tester for 4 years, then you probably know enough technical stuff about that. So, but if you don't know some technical stuff, go and learn some technical stuff. And if you are not technical, well, if you know enough technical stuff, but yeah, you are looking for some position change or want to lead something, or you just want to get more money, then I don't know. The only thing is responsibility. You just need to show that you are reliable, show that to your work. I mean, to your at your workplace, at your office. People just should know that you are an expert of testing, like that. So if they get any question about testing or anything related to testing, they just can go to you and ask a question, and you, with a good enough expert manner, would describe and answer their question and do this. So if you can do this, then you are a senior already.
Okay.
But yeah, the main problem is the responsibility. Like a lot of people who know enough technical stuff, they are just well. They said to me to write this Selenium test. I am sitting and writing this Selenium test. I hate my job. I hate my project, and I write this Selenium test. But if somebody would ask why you do this and why you need to do this, well, do you bring do you bring any I don't know, quality or to your project, or in other words, do you bring your light future into your life, or you do how your Selenium tests are making the future better? And they could not answer. Then they are not seniors.
Okay. From your experience and from your perspective, what is the future trends? What is the next trends in testing in QA area?
Oh, that's we will have the next meetup in Kiev testers in next Thursday, but it will be on Ukrainian. But yeah, well, I don't know, some trends. Everything is developing, everything is changing. Trends that are that it seems like everybody needs some person who would understand as much of the system as possible. So with this microservices world, well, what my also some observation for last years that developers, the systems lack architecturing, and developers are hired, and developers know how their part of the system only work. And when you take several components and try to assemble them into a single system, it's really, well, developers of each component don't understand each other. That's why they need testers. So for now, I see that testers would are so the testers who are needed on the market in the recent years, in recent future, they are a bridge between different kinds of developers, like front-enders and back-enders, and back-enders of Node and back-enders of C, and I don't know how, back-enders of Python and back-enders of PHP. Well, all are like a lot of backends now, as you know,
Okay.
with these microservices. So there are the need of people who would understand all of them. So you need to be very technical. but in the same time, you need to understand the business too, because this is the business who is paying you money and paying those developers money. So you better save some money and not redevelop something from the scratch if somebody has failed their understanding.
Because of that pandemic, that virus, now most of people working from home. How is going from home? And did you work before from home?
Yeah, I work for 4 years already, and 4.5 years I work from home.
Okay.
Well, mostly from home. I visit the office once or twice per week to drink some beer. But yeah, mostly I do my work
Okay,
at home.
what do you suggest? I mean, how to improve our performance or to work efficient from home for someone first time start working from the home?
Yeah, I think I already mentioned that when you are remote, everything should be scheduled. Like you should have scheduled meetings. You cannot grab somebody by the shoulder and say, "Okay, let's go drink some coffee." You cannot do this. You need to schedule the meeting with him explicitly. Uh, that's why everything should. And if you have a meeting, for example, and you're remote, you cannot miss it. It's really harmful for understanding. I mean, for the all the team that somebody is missing a remote meeting, because this is only place. So your communication with other people is now shrinked to few minutes a day. Like it was before, it was 9 hours with including the lunch, and now it is few minutes, tens of minutes maybe, depending on what you do and how often you communicate. Well, it's really hard, and you don't miss the opportunity to talk to somebody. Yeah, and also you need to prepare to the meetings. Well, before, I remember when I was working in office, I could. Well, maybe it's my uh, relation. I mean, that I could come to meeting just, oh, I have a meeting, okay, I go. I don't prepare. I didn't need to do anything. I just come to meeting and I have some agenda, a few sentences, and that's enough for me to understand what we will be talking about. Because if somebody has missed some point, no, it's not problem. We go with him to lunch and I will ask something. But now, if you are remote, you need to prepare to everything. Like you need always to have agenda. You need always to have some notes on what you are going to speak about. What is your? You need to think about what questions will be risen and what answers you have, or what questions you want to raise. So that's really that activities that are in the office are done implicitly, like the Marcus Bach once said, it was like tacit knowledge. And now this tacit knowledge is kind of absent. It's hard to, it cannot form without these preparations and without this, how you say it? Yeah, a scheduled life, work
Okay.
life.
Do you have any suggestion? I mean, some books or people to follow or any blog in testing or generally in business? Some strongly suggested.
Uh, well, the books that I love are Jerry Weinberg's books. Any actually, what you like? There is a LeanPub, the site leanpub.com, I think. They have Jerry Weinberg and Gerald Weinberg, and there are a lot of books there, and you can buy them by very cheap. And they are in electronic form, and they are really nice. there are few for software, but the book by which he became famous was, I think, Secrets of Consulting. It's not directly related to testing, but it's generally about your career, how to develop the career in general, in life, like I would say, because everybody is consulting actually, but not everybody understands that they are doing this. Well, I don't know, Marcus Bach, I read when he posts something. Also, I write something. I wrote something in my blog,
Really?
but about QA. But now I don't have time
When?
with my kids sitting
Yeah.
at home.
Okay. Just I wanted to ask, okay, when we will read them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will share the. Or I can. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. I will wait. Okay. Okay, Oleksii, thank you very much for your time with this 1 hour. Do you have some final words, generally in testing, or any general words before finish it?
Well, I am glad that there are people who love what I love.
Yeah.
I've been testing, and well,
Uh,
you are free to, if you have some questions about what I was speaking, or have some questions in
no,
testing in
really, it
general, you
was.
can reach me out.
Yeah, thank you very much, and it was really a pleasure. And it is 1 hour.
Okay.
And also, I don't know if you opened YouTube now. We had some hellos from friends, and now you are popular in Turkey too. Also,
Yeah. Teşekkür.
teşekkürler. Rica ederim. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Maxim.
Okay,
Have a
bye
good day.
bye.
Bye.